Have you ever wanted to get a custom-made dice tray, but didn't quite know how to do it? If so, this video is going to be for you. This is going to be Dungeons & Dragons Beginning Crafters Dice Trays. Hi guys, I'm DM Dunn, and today I'm going to show you how you can easily make a beautiful dice tray for yourself or for a gift for somebody else. So to start off, I just used some chipboard. I'll put in the description below a link to the Amazon affiliate link where you can get some of this. This is 12-inch by 12-inch chipboard, which is very popular for crafting. So if you're a crafter, this is going to be something that you're going to be using for a lot of your bases, for all the terrain and stuff like that you're building. However, one perfect piece of this 12 by 12 is going to work fantastic. This one sheet will result in roughly a 6-inch by an 11-inch playable surface for a dice tray for yourself. So in order to make the math work, what I did is I cut out 4 strips that were 1 inch and 1/4. So 1 1/4 inch strips, which when you get it done, it gives you 5 inches total between the 4 strips, leaving you 7 inches left for the dice tray base. Okay, and when you get those strips cut, then what I did is I also put some notches in there so that they could go together. So you cut a little bit more than halfway down on one and a little bit halfway up on the other. To make the measurements work, what I did is I measured 1/4 of an inch in from the sides, actually a 1/2 inch. I went in 1/2 inch from the sides to get these corners in there. And then what I also did with that 7-inch piece that I had is I went ahead and drew that grid on here as well, going in that 1/2 inch so that I could have those lines in there, showing me where my center dice throwing surface area will be also. So what that's going to do is going to give you some extra structure for this, but also having the walls, but it's also the lines so you can make sure everything's lined up nice and straight. In order to help sure that I had those lines nice and straight, I use my Proxon, but if you don't have a Proxon, you can just use your regular straight edge knife. Got some of my crafting foam. I cut it to be 1/2 inch wide and 1/4 inch thick. And then what I did is I cut it to where it would fit perfectly inside of those lines, leaving the corners open and no foam in there. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to have something solid here that these walls could butt up against and that I could glue them into, but also make sure that I had those straight lines. And that was the purpose of this, is to give it some of that strength. And so once you have that, all of those ready, just use some of our most popular tacky glue. If you're a crafter, you should have bottles of these laying around everywhere. Get it fully covered, nice thin layer. I use my finger to spread it, and you just press it on there. Once you have all 4 pieces on, laid it between some books so it stayed nice and flat while it dried, because I don't want anything warping this while it was drying. Let it dry for an entire day. So the next day I came back to it, and then I started continuing on. So after that, we had those in there. Then I wanted to put the felt on. So I just went to, I think it was a Joann's, got some fabric. I like red and blue, so I grabbed some blue felt. Don't forget to use your 40% coupon. You can find them anywhere. Just Google Joann's coupons, and don't pay full price at Joann's, because that's not what you do at Joann's. And then same kind of concept, you just use the tacky glue. You don't have to have fancy like spray aerosol glue or anything like that for these. The tacky glue is going to work perfect for you. It won't soak through the felt. It won't do anything weird like that. So just cover it completely, spread it out with your fingers so that it's covering all of it. Make sure it's not too thin or too thick, and then press the fabric on there. And then again, set it between some books to dry overnight to help try to prevent any warping. Once we had that base, the center of that base covered, did the same thing with the the 4 walls is to cover these guys up. Now, one thing that you're going to have as an option is, if you want, you can either have the fabric roll over the edge, and so you have fabric on the top, or you can have like a clean line to where you don't have the fabric going over. So I did both choices here, and you can take a look at that. If you want them all to roll over like this, do keep in mind that some of your pieces need to have the cuts coming up from the bottom, and the opposite pieces need to have the cuts coming down from the top. So don't do them all like this where they're all facing up or they're all facing down, because then you'll have upside down pieces. So make sure that you fit it together and you realize which pieces you're going to have the fabric hanging over. I recommend having it extra on obviously on the top, so you can fold it over. Best recommendation was to give you about an extra 1/2 inch of fabric above the wall, so that you have enough that it can fold over, and then you can glue it on a separate time. So first you're going to just glue the fabric flush. You'll cut off inside of your lines that you had cut. And again, between those same books, let it dry overnight. Come back the next day, and that's when you're going to be able to bend it over the top. Here's where I also made some mistakes that you can learn from. I tried using some Gorilla Glue gel, thinking that it would hold better just the small piece of fabric that I was pulling over, but instead it actually puts some of the white that goes through the felt. So don't do that. So just use the tacky glue again, which is also why you need to make sure that you have at least a 1/2 inch. You don't want to get too crazy, have a lot, but you also don't want to have too small of an amount that you can't really fold it over. So once you have that extra 1/2 inch, you put the glue down on the chipboard, and then you can fold it over, and then make sure you press it in between some books, and then let that dry again. You want to make sure it's nice and dry. You don't have to worry about it making it look too super pretty, because you will be covering it up with the stones on the next section. So once that's all dried and the felt is all on there, looks nice and beautiful, then you're going to be able to put it inside of your foam edges that you had. And what I did, I used hot glue for this part because I wanted it to be able to set a little bit quicker. But if you guys know, hot glue obviously dries quickly, so I wouldn't have enough time to put the hot glue around all 4 edges, put it down, grab the walls and put them in, and then without it already being dry, hard on the other side. So I just did one of the short sides. And don't put too much glue. You don't want the glue leaking out and taking up your surface area on the inside. Just enough to where it can bond to the edge of the foam that you have laying on the outside base there, and then push the wall up against that hot glue, hold it in place for a few seconds till it's set. Then I did the other small end, a line of hot glue, press it in, hold it, and now it's done. The nice thing is when you have the walls in there, the middles are going to be flexible still, so you can still pull them out a little bit. And I was able to get at least 3/4. You don't have to, it doesn't matter how much, but a line of hot glue in here, and then pressed it back into place, and did the same thing on the other one. Pull it in, hot glue, and then press it into place. So that's how I was able to get all 4 sides hot glued in, and it be feeling a little bit more secure and firm for me. So now all you're left with is to do the pretty decorations and putting the foam stones around the edge. Again, a Proxxon is going to be your friend with this guy. And what I did to try to make math easy for me is my wall was 1 1/4 inches, which is why my foundation was 1/4 inch thick. And then I made my stones 1/2 inch tall and 1 inch wide. Anytime you make your stones, if you want them to look more realistic, you want to have the height half as much as the width, or the width twice as much as the height. So in this example, 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So if I have a 1/4 inch base and 2 1/2 inches, that gives me my 1 1/4 inch, which is what my walls were. Now what you'll notice is if you look at this, you still see some of the wall that wasn't a perfect fit, and that is because you're not going to just put your stones on raw, you're going to texture them, which actually decreases the size of these stones, these foam stones, the foam, a little bit. So I honestly don't mind it. I think it looks really nice, and I would prefer to have more of the wall than having the stones up over the wall, more likely for the stones to get hit from the backside and broken off, the glue broken off. But if that's an issue for you, you want it to be more flush, then I would recommend increasing the size a little bit more than a 1/2 inch and a little bit more than 1 inch. So just remember, however high you go, double it for the width, or vice versa. Whatever the width is, half it for the height. And if you're consistent with that, then you'll be fine as well. Now, the other issue is that there were a little bit of gaps because this now 11 inches, which again is why I picked 1 inch, because I'd be able to have a perfect square that fit across, or a perfect stone that fit across there. But you'll notice I just put some little bit of extra space in between each of the stones just to make sure that it fit and it looks nice. Not a big deal. I don't have an issue with that. But again, if you do, if you make your stones just a little bit bigger, you'll be totally fine with that. And then for the corner pieces, I just made them look like pillars. And you can see that it's roughly a 1/4 inch taller than the wall. I don't know why I like this 1/4 inches and inches. And I don't want to be too big where they interfered with trying to roll the dice, but I wanted them to look a little bit different than the regular wall parts. And so there you go. Now the reason that I needed a dice tray is because I do use my custom gaming table, which you can link to this video right over here. And so during the holidays, I received some really awesome metal dice. However, they're very heavy. So instead of rolling them on my wood and putting dings inside of my wood, I wanted a dice tray that I could handle these nice heavy metal dice, and it works totally fine. And so if you guys need something for your dice, this is going to be a good use for it. So go ahead and give us any comments. Go ahead and like and subscribe to our channel. You can also check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/dmdone. And you can look at the different levels that we have available and all the cool stuff that you'll have access to, or that you would get depending on which level you guys want to subscribe to. You can also help us out by hitting our Amazon affiliate links down below. So for example, if you wanted to get some of this chipboard or the glue or anything like that, it doesn't cost you anything extra. However, if you click our Amazon affiliate link, it does help us. So please do that. And guys, we thank you so very much. And until next time, have more D&D fun with DM Done.